Surviving a horror movie is not as hard as people make it seem in the movies. I mean, most of them either go off on their own when there's a psycho killer, or randomly fall when running away. And with me more or less being a horror movie expert, not really. Here's a list of horror movies you could 100% survive if you watch this video. Freddy vs. Jason is one of those movies you have to make sure you're out of the way and play it smart. Because you not only have to worry about Freddy in your dreams, you then have to worry about Jason in the real world. Now, as we know, the movie starts out with Freddy pretty much pretending to be Jason's mom, resurrecting him, and getting people to fear Freddy once again so he's powerful enough to come back, because everyone forgot. Now, a lot of our characters' deaths could have been avoided. As we know at the end of the movie, they were able to drag Freddy back into the real world, which is exactly what they should have done way earlier in the movie. Obviously, they didn't know, but with us having our horror movie knowledge, we already know that. We already know that if we're starting to wake up, we can drag Freddy into the real world. And if that was the case, that would have been one of the first things I would have ever done. I would have dragged him into the real world and got him and Jason to go at it, which is exactly what happens, like I said, at the end of the movie. Now, of course, the biggest part is staying out of the way. A lot of the characters in Freddy vs. Jason kind of asked for it. They were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Stay out of the way. Drag Freddy into the real world, have him and Jason fight, pick up the scraps. Obviously, we're talking about teenagers in a horror movie, which most of the time are not very well versed in anything having to do with horror. They're pretty much only well versed in dying. But all in all, Freddy vs. Jason is one of those movies where you have to have a little bit of horror movie knowledge. Obviously, they didn't. But if you did, you would have understood the assignment. And I know I'm making it seem easier than it is. But with us knowing these horror movie characters, if things were to happen in the real world, that's exactly what we would have to do. You then have Barbarian, which is another one of those movies that 100% could have been avoided. You show up to your Airbnb and realize someone else is already there. Massive red flag. If I pulled up to an Airbnb that I booked and there was another person staying there, I would have said, okay, cancel my Airbnb, call the person, and dip out. Instead, you decide to stay there. And then you find a secret passageway in the basement. And you go down there. Once again, another stupid horror movie trope. Why would you unneedably go down somewhere you know you're not supposed to go? And once again, staying at an Airbnb where someone else is staying. This is just logic. A Barbarian is a great movie. I just think the characters are stupid. And that's what you'll see on this list. A lot of the characters in these movies are genuinely dumb. And the best part about it is we're not. Child's play. Now look, I understand Chucky is a doll inhabited by a man who is a serial killer. And yes, technically has the strength of a grown man in a doll's body. But let's all think about it logically. Buddy is a doll. He's about yay big, and I'm sitting down. A lot of you are gonna say, well, Chris, he's got a knife, like he's gonna get the jump on you. Even if Chucky stabs me in my leg, bro is getting punted across the room. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love the Child's Play movies, and I do love Chucky as a character. But I don't know how some of these people are getting packed up by Chucky. Yes, he's extremely intelligent, and yes, he has the strength of a grown man. But I'm a grown man. Chucky is a grown man doll. Bro's getting cooked. You then have The Ring. When someone tells you don't watch the tape, why would you watch the tape? It's the same thing in Evil Dead. They tell you not to read the book, yet you read the book. I know you're curious, but come on. Then they give you a certain amount of time before you're dead? I'm gonna say this a lot in this video, but we have to think logically. Just don't watch the tape. Oh, curiosity got me. Well, now you're dead. Which one would you prefer, curiosity or death? That's the question. You then have everybody's favorite Halloween. Michael Myers, the massive creep, the one that's always hiding and lurking in the bushes, trying to kill everybody who lives on that street, and especially Laurie. If you're friends with her, don't be friends with her. Stay out of the way. This is one of those things, like I said, could be completely avoided. If you find out there is a massive serial killer running around your town whose name is Michael Myers, who has killed thousands of people, just get out of town. You live on that street, sell your house. These are all things that could be happening, but everybody wants to try to get their get back. Bro cannot die. It has not been confirmed that he is invincible or immortal, but as we've seen in the previous Halloween movies, Buddy can take a lot of damage. He just gets back up and starts swinging. Now, in more recent movies, we've seen characters all band together to try to get rid of the boogeyman Michael Myers. It's not possible. Pack your stuff and leave town. Now, that's what I would be doing if I was in a horror movie. If there was a killer in my street, in my town, in my city, bro, I'm out. Hopping on the next flight and I'm dipping out. Anybody who wants to come, let's go. But I'm not staying there. Pinhead. Probably one of the most simplest ones on this list. Just don't open the box. It is genuinely that simple. All you have to do is, if you see the Rubik's Cube, just don't open it and you'll survive. You then have Jaws, which is just as easy. You find out about a shark swimming around everywhere, eating everybody in the lake and the ocean. So you decide to go swimming. Not me. I'm good on that. You then have Chucky. Now, last time I checked, Chucky is more or less a demonic doll inhabited by a man who killed someone else and somehow stuck his body inside of the Chucky doll. Now, me personally, I do not care. The doll is this big. Bro is getting bodied. Very simple. Pennywise the dancing clown. You could dance your way away from me. 1, I'm not going anywhere near a drainage system and talking to someone dressed like a clown. Not gonna happen. Now, I also want to preface that we are not talking novel Pennywise, because novel Pennywise is a multidimensional being that literally can swallow up the world. We're talking movie Pennywise, the one that can be bullied. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I am going to be bullying Pennywise to the full extent and not worrying about any of the consequences, because the only thing I'm really that scared of is the middle of the ocean. What is he gonna turn into? The ocean? Probably not. Then you got Bubba, aka Leatherface. Now, me personally, I'm not taking a road trip in Texas. Also, I'm not going to an abandoned house in Texas and wondering why there's a weird giant place in the basement with locks everywhere, keeping something in that doesn't need to be let out. Why would I go in there to try and open it? It's not gonna happen. And if you want to take it a step further, we could talk about the cannibalistic family, which is obviously the people that live with Leatherface. If I see a hitchhiker on the side of the road that looks like Shaggy, kind of scary, I'm not picking him up. I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably not picking up any hitchhikers. That's just terrifying. Have you ever seen any movie where it ends well for picking up a hitchhiker? No, I'm just gonna keep on driving. You then have the creeper from Jeepers Creepers. Buddy's asleep for 23 years, rises on the 23rd spring. I'm just gonna make sure I'm not in the vicinity where the creeper's gonna be reawakening, and I'm gonna be fine. Freddy Krueger. Yes, I have to sleep, but I don't sleep as much as you would think. So therefore, I would be able to put all of my time and effort into figuring out how I can bring Freddy into the real world. Then when I bring Freddy into the real world, he's getting completely jumped. Buddy was buffed for Freddy vs. Jason, meaning that he's not actually that strong. Yes, he's strong for a horror movie character, stronger than a normal human, but he's not stronger than 7 humans who are beating the brakes off of him. It's just not gonna happen. You then have Michael Myers, absolutely terrifying killer, but he walks everywhere. Yes, he has superhuman strength, all of this other stuff, but he's not immortal. Therefore, a light jog or a car will get me far enough away from him to where he will leave me alone. Candyman. Now, you just have to say his name and repeat it into the mirror a couple times like Bloody Mary. Why would I want to do that? Just answer that question. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to summon someone to unalive me? It just doesn't make sense. You then have my buddy Ghostface. Now, this one's definitely going to be easy because of the fact that if one of your friends starts acting weird, you're like, hey, you know, what's going on? And they just act strange. Somehow they're always gone when someone else is being chased. Weird. Unless there's more than one. And at that point, you go by yourself in your car and leave town. Of course, check the back seat, but that should be pretty easy. You then have the grandparents from The Visit. Now, I know who my grandparents are. I've seen them before. I'm just going to let some random group of old people pick me up from the train station or the airport, bring me to their house. Then I'm on FaceTime with my mom. I show her them and they're like, those aren't your grandparents. Well, you should know that prior to flying or taking a train or getting picked up by some random old people. You then have the demon from It Follows. Now, once it's passed on to you, you can pass it on to someone else. So that's what I would do. It would just be that easy. You then have the man from Don't Breathe. You broke into his house and now you're wondering why he wants to kill you. It's pretty simple to me. Just don't break into his house and you'll be fine. You then have Annabelle. Now, last time I checked, I'm not having a haunted doll in my house. As soon as a doll wants to try and communicate with me, that's when it gets tossed in the fire. I'm not putting it outside. I'm not giving it to someone. I'm literally going to burn the doll and call it a day. You then have Chauncey the Bear from Imaginary. Now, you have to do a ton of steps in order to summon Chauncey the Bear. I'm just not gonna do the steps, and I'm not going to summon Chauncey the Bear. It's genuinely that simple. All in all, surviving horror movies is definitely not the hardest thing, especially with the knowledge we have as people who watch horror movies. Obviously, a lot of these characters who have been killed in these movies didn't know or didn't watch horror movies. But all in all, most of these deaths could be absolutely avoided if you think logically enough, and if you understand what horror movie tropes are. All in all, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the recent support on the channel. It truly does mean the world to me. With all of that being said, guys, my name is Chris, and of course, I will catch you guys on the next one.